We all knew it was coming, but we were still dreading it. I'm John Berry, and welcome to my review of Star Wars The Clone Wars, Season 7, Episode 11, Shattered. This is the third part of the Siege of Mandalore arc, and it happened. We knew it was going to happen eventually, and it finally did. And what's not necessarily great about it, but great from a storytelling perspective, is that even though we knew exactly, well maybe not exactly what was going to happen, but we knew Order 66 was going to happen again, Dave Filoni and the other people who worked on Star Wars: The Clone Wars, of course, they still, the word I'm looking for is they still were able to set it up in such a way that even though we knew the general outcome, thanks to part extra story material, Revenge of the Sith, of course, and Star Wars Rebels, we knew the gist of what was going to happen, but we still were dreading it. And just so you're on the same page as me, in Rebels, we know that both Ahsoka and Rex survive Order 66. We know that, so we know they both survive here, but what's going to happen? And it was answered. And my theory is now debunked. If you can still go give that theory a watch because it's still a good theory, but yeah. Captain Rex's inhibitor chip was not malfunctioning, which is actually probably a good thing given what the episode decided to do. But the episode actually did give us some more context on Order 66. Just real quick, some other side stuff. This episode was actually really good, and at one point, Ahsoka actually, well, both Ahsoka and Maul, I think, experienced the same thing. Not necessarily a fourth vision, but they were able to heal what we saw in Revenge of the Sith. Basically, the final showdown between Palpatine and Winder and Anakin coming in and helping Palpatine. Like, they were both able to sense that, and it was well done. It sounded actually like the audio was directly lifted from Revenge of the Sith. And, well, judging by the credits, yes, it was. And another scene is a scene where Ahsoka's reporting to part of the Jedi Council that Maul has been captured, all of that. And, of course, you can still see the tension there, especially with Mace. While Yoda maybe picked it up, the tension a bit better, but also was, like, there for Ahsoka more so, because after all the other Jedi Council members left, Yoda asked Ahsoka if she had anything else to add, a message for Skywalker perhaps, and Ahsoka said, no, I'll tell him when I see him. And the sad thing is, they never see each other in this episode, or again for that matter. But I've been kind of skirting around it, but we have to talk Order 66 and what happened though. And to say the least, Rex, at least initially, was fighting the inhibitor chip. You could tell, because he was, like, they had him shaking, he dropped his helmet, and he told Ahsoka before everything went down, find him, fives. Like, clearly Rex was fighting and was trying to get out of the bill as essential, but, like, that was able to give Ahsoka enough information. But, like, so, did he? I don't think he was really trying, at least initially. The inhibitor chip seemed like it took control. And I would say it was not an inhibitor chip, it's a control chip. And I think very much it did take control, but it's clear that initially he was basically trying to fight it. Some people may have a different read on that scene than me, but I think Rex was clearly trying to fight Order 66. But we do get this kind of nice thing where we get a bit more context that Order 66 marks any and all Jedi leadership as traitors, so meaning any Jedi and Force user and related as traitors, and then they're to be basically hunted down and killed, along with any clones that attempt to help the Jedi, which I think is kind of interesting. It's almost like Palpatine was what I'm looking for is like playing just in case a clone's inhibitor chip was malfunctioning and they assisted the Jedi, that those clones would thus be eliminated by the other clones to not necessarily remove any loose ends, but remove any complications. Because let's say Rex had removed his inhibitor chip earlier on, or had successfully fought it, oh, my theory that I was never working was correct to begin with. Well, he couldn't have done much to help Ahsoka once the other clones realized it, because we also get a clearly transmitted, yeah, that's good, told to us, maybe not clearly, but strongly implied that the Order 66 message is sent through all clones' communication systems, so they receive it directly. Because we can hear a little static, and then the clones who are basically guarding the door all of a sudden go start pointing their guns at Ahsoka. And this was a few seconds after Rex had gotten the message. Which I think is which definitely shows you that it wasn't just relayed to the commanders, but relayed to the entire Grand Army of the Republic, so that every clone will receive it in case there was a weak link. Which just goes to show how well this was planned. And Ahsoka does escape, we know that. And so as the clones are coming in, including Jesse, so that one speculation of mine, I didn't put much stock into it, but that one, yeah, it went down. But either she was able to deflect the blaster bolts to open up a hole above her to jump through, or I wouldn't be surprised if Rex was still trying to fight it and some of his blaster bolts went up. So I watched the scene very carefully and I could not tell, but I would actually think he was still trying to fight it. And in fact, I think he was still trying to fight it until he put his helmet back on. One thing I noticed that every time Rex had his helmet off after Order 66 was ordered, he was trying to fight it, or his inhibitor chip had been removed in this episode. Every time Rex's helmet was on was when he was fully in compliance with Order 66. I think as time went on, it became more of a subconscious fight than a conscious fight, but I think it was clearly there. But once his helmet was on, it's like the programming took over, because the inhibitor chip was more of a control chip. And then of course his inhibitor chip does get removed in this episode. His message about Fives does get through to Ahsoka. And well, first she stops up in the detention bay to not necessarily rescue Maul, but to help Maul escape, release him, so that way he can, cause a distraction on the ship. So Ahsoka pretty much realizes that Maul was essentially right. And we do get confirmation that Maul did not know the exact detail about how Darth Sidious's plan was going to go through. He didn't know the exact detail, but when he heard it that was the clones, he was like, brilliant. But still, he still helped Ahsoka out. Partially, I would say, for a couple reasons. One, he's still mad at his former master, and two, the clones were going to get him anyhow, so might as well. Maul is just walking down the hallway of the Venture, the clones are obviously not hitting him. Don't know if it's because of the force of poor aim or whatever, but he's also being kind of tactful. He's using a little bit of tactics about himself. He's using the force to rip metal paneling off the wall and use it as shields. Then, of course, he's using the force, of course, to throw those shields either straight on or sideways even into clones. Yeah. And actually, at one point, as the clones are closing a blaster to, get away from Maul, he's holding one clone back, and at least the arm of that clone gets chopped off. And maybe not the only thing. Yeah. Off screen, of course, but we see the arm drop to the ground. And so yeah, he's clearly giving the clones a good challenge. Meanwhile, what is Ahsoka doing? Well, she snuck into the droid bay, and she activates the droid. So they're asking what's going on. So obviously the droids are kept in the dark. Probably a good choice by the clones and all that, because the droids probably would side with the Jedi, since the 3 droids in the droid pool do help Ahsoka. One of them being R7. If you don't remember R7, well, in the episodes where Ahsoka is piloting a starfighter, R7 is her astromech droid. And I really love that they brought that one character back. R7 wasn't in too many episodes previously, but I'm glad that they still show that this one droid is basically still around. So R7 and the other droids who I don't think I recognize, but they do help Ahsoka. They get into well, the computer, and Ahsoka has all 7 look up the records on Fives, and finding out what happened to him and all, and such, the inhibitor chip and all that. And then she also finds Rex's, basically not to say follow-up report, but request for an additional investigation into the matter. Because a clip is played from a Cameroonian scientist that basically says both the Senate Investigatory Committee and the Jedi Council were basically, essentially placated with the results that Five's inhibitor chip had malfunctioned and caused him to go and act all crazy. And then, I don't remember if it was that the Cameroonian scientist mentioned that a follow-up report was filed or something like that, but Ahsoka does look up and finds this request for another investigation, even though he knows it will fall. He states that he knows in request that he knows it will fall on deaf ears, and of course, sadly, it does until Ahsoka hears it, obviously. And so Ahsoka does listen to that and basically knows what's going, not necessarily what's going on, but learns that the inhibitor chips are likely the cause of whatever's going on. And in Rex's request for another investigation, he mentioned that he basically doesn't even believe it's true, but believes it should be followed up that Fives believe that the chips had some ulterior motive. And yeah, they do. And so what does Ahsoka do? Well, her and the droids, they basically get Captain Rex alone. One of the droids stun him, and of course Ahsoka responds like, "Be careful and trying not to hurt him." And then they take him to a med bay where they're able to remove his chip. But it took some time. The system had a hard time finding it. And I do think that's on purpose. I honestly do think that is on purpose by the system, because Palpatine probably doesn't want the clones discovering and removing them, especially now that Order 66 has actually been ordered. And so the computer's having trouble, but Ahsoka goes to use the Force, and whether that helps the computer or just helps pass the time, I'm honestly not sure, but the chip is found and extracted. And right as that's happening, the clones are trying to break into sickbay, Star Trek term there, I'm trying to break into the med bay, and of course Ahsoka tells the droids, as quickly as you can, get the door closed again once they breach it open. And of course Ahsoka's, staying ready in defense while the med droid's doing its thing on Rex. And she's deflecting banister bolts while one clone is, literally holding the door up. And then Rex basically comes to, and we just see him reaching for his pistol, obviously it's is he going for Ahsoka or going for the clones? But I just knew he was going for the clones. I had this instinct, the way they set it up that way, and of course he shoots those clones that are trying to basically get into the med bay and kill Ahsoka. And Ahsoka then asks, "Are you okay?" It's a quick reconciliation, but I think it does help that Ahsoka knows that Rex had no control over it. Probably did help that Rex was fighting it in the beginning too. And Ahsoka tells Rex that as a way almost to comfort him. And of course then Rex reveals to Ahsoka that it's throughout the entire Grand Army of the Republic. And that's not good news. That is really not good news. But I gotta say, of all the Jedi, Ahsoka has a leg up on defeating or avoiding Order 66. Because after all, she was already hunted by clones. Granted, they weren't trying to kill her that first time, but she does have practice in that regard. And that is where the episode ends. So obviously the next episode will have to do with Ahsoka and Rex getting off that Ventor, and probably also Maul getting off that Ventor, because we know they all get off somehow. And I don't know what's going to happen with the droids. I honestly don't know. I just had to throw that in there because they helped Ahsoka. Hopefully they get off. But also I could see them sacrificing themselves to allow Ahsoka and Rex to get away. Maybe not letting Maul get away, but he's going to get away as well. Probably all by himself. He probably won't need any help. And of course, we'll probably end up seeing Obi-Wan's message warning all Jedi to stay away, that the Jedi were betrayed. We'll probably see that. I don't know, but there's a chance that maybe Ahsoka will get in contact with Bail Organa. It's possible. We know they eventually do. There's a few other things. Maul was kept in a special, not carbonite, but did remind me of carbonite, but a special device designed to hold Force users that the Mandalorians had developed. And apparently the last one at that. And the clones do try to kill Maul though, but Ahsoka intervenes. So she can have a distraction. Very practical thinking, but not necessarily the Jedi way. But then again, everything's kind of messed up right now, and as she says later on in Rebels, she is no Jedi. But I think she's better than the Jedi. She actually understands what the Jedi should stand for, and actually does act on them most of the time. And a few odds and ends before I finish out this review. We get to see Ursula Wren without her helmet, and that's about it. And some clones may be staying on Mandalore, because they probably do turn into occupation force pretty quickly, I bet. And they have Gar Saxon in custody, so I don't know what's going on, but yeah. But I had actually suspected that maybe Order 66 took place on Mandalore and the Mandalorians helped Ahsoka, which would, I think, better some Mandalorians helped Ahsoka in Rex, and that's why Gar Saxon got installed as leader. I don't know, but that's why I had hoped. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But this episode was really good, and being able us to dread something that we know what's going to happen, that we know that basically two characters are going to survive it, that we know Ahsoka and Rex are going to survive and escape, but still dreading the outcome, I think is a masterful of storytelling. Kind of leaving it up a little bit in the air on, did Rex participate, did help? He somewhat did, I would say. Like, he did not want to participate that much. I think that was made clear before it went down. That he was, like, the inhibitor chip was taking control of what he was doing. That's how I'm interpreting. You may interpret it differently, and actually I would like to hear from you. But a few odds and ends, that ability to get us to dread something and be scared and have all the fears about something. We know it's going to happen, we know the broad strokes, but we are still getting the exact same emotions as if we didn't know. In fact, we're probably getting more emotions because we do know what's going to happen. Which is kind of weird, but I think it does make sense and it very much works. And really, like, the Siege of Mandalore arc so far is so cinematic, and I got to say, like, I would have loved to see this in theaters. Like, and the animation, of course, is spectacular and spot on. I could go on and on about that too. Oh, one last thing, and then I really will be over. The music. Again, excellent. I guess I'm music accused and all that, but I want you to focus at the music at the start, because it's just, the title logo and then part 3, Shattered. But we also get this. The music. It's a music cue, a theme for a motif. I'm not quite sure, which I'm not a music expert. But let's go with theme for the Grand Army of the Republic. But it's in a different key, I think. As I said, I'm no musical expert, but this music normally used to symbolize the Grand Army of the Republic and the clones as a whole I think it is normally in major key, but I think they put it in minor key, because it just sounds much more foreboding and dreading. And like, while watching this, I was trembling through the entire episode, pretty much, like, what's going to happen. And I think starting out with some music that we are familiar with in a minor key, I think contributed to that. But that just transitioned to a different key, a minor one, I think, again, as I said 2 times already, I'm no music expert, but that change of music from something more upbeat and triumphant even to something unsettling, does set the tone for the entire episode. But these are just my thoughts on all this. What are yours? I would love to hear from you. I'm sure I missed something, so again, I would love to hear from you. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't already, please like the video. Also, if you would like to, please consider following me on social media, Facebook and Twitter. Links are in the description, as well as some other links, including the links for my Discord server if you would love to join, it's free, or my Patreon page if you would like to help support this channel. So if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel and ring that bell. And feel free to check out either the video or the playlist on screen now. And as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you, always.